The Huskies head to Indiana to take on the red-hot Hoosiers, who are hosting College Game Day. Now, this is a long list of hard, and I mean hard, road games for the Washington Huskies, which comes at no surprise since we were in the national championship game last year, and with that comes this type of territory. The Huskies have had to play Rutgers on a Friday night, had to go to Iowa in a big noon kickoff, are heading to Indiana now in a big noon kickoff and College Game Day. And they're still traveling to Penn State for a whiteout game later this year. This is a really tough stretch for our first season in the Big Ten and first season under head coach Jedd Fisch. The Huskies, well, we're going to try to spoil that undefeated party for the Hoosiers. Let's take a look at this game. What's up, guys? This is me, George on Tap, part of the Sports on Tap and Seattle on Tap network. We're going to be previewing the Washington Huskies versus Indiana Hoosiers game. Now, I haven't done one since previewing the Iowa game. I had zero, and I mean zero desire to come on here after that Iowa game and that Iowa shellacking we took, that I really didn't want to come in here and talk about how bad we played and how bad we looked and how unnerved I was, especially after beating Michigan. I thought we were about to turn our season around. I feel like that was the first game of the season where we lost and actually deserved to lose. Still don't believe we deserve to lose to Wazoo or lose to Rutgers, but here we are, 4-3, and it almost feels like a must-win game. I do not want to go 4-4 and then be fighting to see if we're going to get into a bowl game later. So kind of feel like this is a huge must-win game for the Huskies. I'll give you a fun fact about this game. Washington and Indiana have played just 3 times in their program's history. Indiana holds a 2-1 advantage of a pair of victories in the 1970s. So let's talk about the spread. The spread is at the Indiana Hoosiers minus 6.5, so Huskies plus 6.5, and the over-under is set at 54.5 points, which all seems pretty fair to me when you also want to consider that Indiana is on their backup quarterback, or I think the spread would be closer to 10.5. Now, before we get started to some of our keys to the game, I want to talk about the Rebet app. The Rebet app is a great way for people in Washington State, California, Texas, and 46 out of 50 states to legally bet on sports. And you can only do that really with the Rebet app. You can actually bet live spreads, player props, over-unders, futures, same game parlays. And they do it with a model called the sweepstakes model, but it's real money, real cash, real bets using the Rebet app. And if you use promo code ONTAP or click the link in our description, you'll get up to $100 US bonus on a deposit match. So if you put in 100, you get 150, you get a 50. So make sure you sign up for the Rebet app. All right, keys to the game. We'll start off with number 1, the last game. Indiana thumped Nebraska 56-7, a Nebraska team that we have already seen thumped, and I mean thumped, Colorado. And the Huskies, well, we lost to Iowa 40-16, in which was our worst game so far this season. There was nothing home I want to take out of that game that was good. The next key to the game. Indiana has the number 1 scoring offense. And if you guys see me sometimes looking this way, I have 2 screens, one here, but this one's easier to read because my camera is also here. So sometimes I got to up and down. But anyway, Indiana has the number 1 scoring offense, while the Huskies have the 92nd scoring defense in the country. But that's not really indicative about the Huskies defense, because the Huskies have given up the least pass yards per game in college football. And Indiana's on a backup quarterback. So we'll see. Something has to give here. And let's get to that backup quarterback. The Huskies will face QB Taven Jackson, who's starting in place of Curtis Rourke, who has an injured thumb. And this really does bode well for the Huskies' pass defense. From what I've seen, Taven Jackson throws a really good deep ball, but he's more of a dual threat option, which could bode well and could bode badly. If the Huskies can't contain him on the ground, he might run crazy against us because our rushing defense has been horrific. If we're able to contain him on the ground game and force him to make throws, the Huskies' pass defense is good enough to control a backup quarterback, even on the road in Indiana. And keys 5 and 6 to me are kind of intertwined. We need Will Rogers to get into rhythm. Rogers has been a pretty good quarterback this year. He didn't have an interception until he threw an interception in Michigan, and then threw, again, interceptions against Iowa. But he's been one of the most I would say, accurate quarterbacks in the Big Ten. He's definitely, I mean, we were spoiled last year with Michael Penix Jr. He's no Michael Penix Jr., but he's a very good college quarterback, and he should be able to move the ball a little bit here. And hopefully, if he gets a rhythm, we can do what we need to do with the next key, which is get Jonah Coleman more involved in the game. He was not involved against Iowa, and that's because we were playing, well, one, he was banged up, and two, we were in a deficit. So if you're in a deficit, you're going to have to throw the ball around. Hopefully, which, by the way, Indiana has not trailed for a moment, not for a second this season. Other than 0-0, they haven't, that's it, tied. You need to get a lead on them and get the ball to Jonah Coleman. That's how you're going to have to win this game. You got to jump out to an early lead. You need Will Rogers to get in a rhythm. You need to get Jonah Coleman the ball, and then you need to take advantage of keeping the ball and keeping Indiana off the field if you want to win this game. And part of keeping them off the field is two keys here. One, you got to stop the run game. Justice Ellison has 514 yards with 8 touchdowns this year, and we've seen how bad the Huskies' run defense is. As good as the pass defense is, sometimes I wonder, is our pass defense that good, or do teams just take advantage of our rush defense and stop passing the ball against us? Probably a combination of the two, but we really need to get off the field, and that involves third and fourth downs, which Indiana has been really good at. Indiana is 54% on third downs this season and 50% on fourth down tries on 14 tries. We need to get them off the field. We need to get Indiana packing their bags, getting off that field, or we're in a whole lot of trouble. This is not a game where we can go down 14-0 and expect to come back. This is a game where Indiana, their crowd, is arguably playing their biggest game in ions, in decades. I mean, I remember once Indiana played, I think it was Ohio State on a Friday night in a really big game. I think this is their biggest game since. I think Michael Penix Jr. was their quarterback, and he scored that rushing touchdown, or was it a 2-point conversion? I forget exactly. But since then, Indiana has not really been in games where it's so big, so important, so huge. You know they have I mean, you might not know this, but if you go read about them, they have a tailgating culture. Despite them never being that good, their tailgating is great. That means they're going to, good thing it's at noon. So if this game was at 7 o'clock at night, that crowd would be sauced up. But instead, they'll be a little less rowdy, but it's college game day. And you see when a college game day goes to some places, people are lining up 5, 6, 7 in the morning. That means they'll be consuming since 5, 6, 7 in the morning. It's going to be loud. It's going to be raucous. We cannot go down if we want to win this game. Those are my keys to the game. My overall prediction, I kind of feel good about this one, only because we're out their backup quarterback and we're going to have to force them to throw the ball. I know the spread's 6.5. I'm taking the Huskies to cover on rebet, and I'm just hoping and keeping my fingers crossed the Huskies win this game 31-27. I love the over. I think there's going to be a ton of points in this game as well. You can bet both of those on rebet. So that's my prediction for the Washington Huskies versus the Rutgers versus the Indiana Hoosiers. Hopefully we can get this win. Hopefully we can turn this season around. 5-3 looks so much better than 4-4. And hopefully, this first season at Jedfish, we can at least get to a bowl game and, rack up some wins here. Maybe this bye week could have cleaned up a lot of the problems we had. Thank you guys for watching. This has been the Sports on Tap Seattle, part of a Sports on Tap network. My name is George on Tap. If you want to find all our other links, you can find my YouTube channel, my links in the YouTube description, as well as our betting channel, the Sports on Tap, where we bet on every really important game and give you player props, spreads, and stuff. It's a lot of fun. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next time.